My name is Zoe Mitchell. I'm 36 years old, single, and until recently, I thought my biggest challenge in life was managing my Crohn's disease. Turns out, nothing prepares you for getting stabbed in the back by the one person who grew up sleeping on the other side of your childhood bedroom wall. I grew up in rural Montana on a piece of land that had been in our family for 3 generations. My twin brother Caleb and I used to build forts in the woods behind the barn, race rusty bikes down the gravel driveway, argue over who got the last waffle. We weren't perfect, but we were close. At least I thought we were. Our parents died 3 years ago, and the land was left to both of us. 50-50. That was Dad's wish. It wasn't even written in stone. Just a handwritten note, witnessed by our aunt, and signed before his heart surgery. I stayed back to take care of everything. The funeral, the probate, the bills. Caleb? He flew in for 24 hours, hugged me once, and left a check for $1,500 with a sticky note that said, "Hope this helps." I didn't resent him. Not then. He had a life in Seattle, a fiancé, a tech job, real deadlines. I was freelance and single, more flexible. I took it all on because someone had to. Fast forward to 8 weeks ago. I was admitted to the hospital after collapsing in the grocery store. Turned out I had an intestinal perforation from an undiagnosed abscess, emergency surgery. I was in the ICU for 4 days, drifting in and out of consciousness, not even coherent enough to speak my name properly. That's when he did it. When I got out, one of the nurses handed me a stack of my mail from home, which my neighbor had dropped off. In it was a letter from the county clerk's office. At first, I thought it was a tax form. But when I opened it, my hands literally started to shake. The land deed had been amended. My name was gone. It now listed Caleb Mitchell as the sole owner of 58.3 acres of rural land at our childhood address. I called him. He picked up on the second ring. Cheerful. "Oh hey, glad you're doing better," he said. I was gonna call, but things got hectic. We're actually finalizing the venue stuff now. Guess what? We're using the land for the wedding. Rustic chic, big tent, string lights. It's gonna be amazing. I couldn't even form words. You're still coming, right? We'll have room for you and whoever. We sent invites a few weeks ago, maybe yours got lost. I was quiet for too long. Then he said something that's been playing on a loop in my brain ever since. "You weren't really doing anything with it anyway, Zoe. And honestly, I needed the equity for the wedding deposit. I'm sure you understand." Understand? Understand what? That he waited until I was unconscious and couldn't legally contest anything to steal the last thing Dad gave us? Understand that he forged a signature I couldn't possibly have given because I was hooked up to a central line and hadn't held a pen in days? I hung up on him without saying a word. And when the wedding invite finally did come, it was obvious it was an afterthought. A leftover card. No RSVP instructions. No +1. No mention of dietary restrictions. Just a line at the bottom that made my vision blur with rage. Celebrating love and legacy on the Mitchell family estate. He didn't just take the land. He erased me from it. And that's when I knew. I wasn't going to let this go quietly. The thing about betrayal is, it's never just the action. It's the premeditation. The quiet calculations someone makes while smiling to your face, pretending nothing's wrong. Caleb didn't just take the land. He timed it. Waited for the exact moment I couldn't fight back. Couldn't ask questions, couldn't even sit up on my own. He knew, and he still did it. I didn't sleep the night I got the wedding invite. My stomach churned, not from the surgery, but from the violation. That land was all I had left of my parents. Of Dad. We'd talked about building a small artist's retreat there one day. A place to heal. Now it was just a backdrop for table settings and a custom neon sign that probably said, "Happily ever, Mitchell." I didn't know where to start. A part of me wanted to burn everything down. The other part? Just wanted to disappear. But disappearing is exactly what Caleb was counting on. He'd always assumed I'd just fade out of the way. So I called Mr. Reiner. He was our dad's old estate attorney, retired now, somewhere in Arizona. I tracked down his number through one of Dad's old contacts. He remembered me right away, asked about my health, then listened. Really listened, while I explained everything. Then he said something I'll never forget. "Zoe, your father trusted you for a reason. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't." He offered to help. Not as a lawyer, he wasn't licensed in Montana anymore, but as a friend. He referred me to a local legal aid clinic and told me what to request from the county clerk's office. That's when things got strange. The deed transfer file Caleb submitted included a notarized statement from me, saying I willingly relinquished interest in the property due to relocation and disinterest in rural upkeep. It even had a signature. Mine. Only, I didn't sign anything. I was in the ICU, undilauded, on a feeding tube. I wasn't even lucid for 3 days. I remember the nurse having to help me hold a pen just to write my name on a pain scale chart. That was the extent of my handwriting that week. There was no way I'd written that document. I sat at my tiny kitchen table, holding the papers with trembling fingers. It was like looking at evidence from a crime scene where you're the victim, but no one's called the cops. I scanned the document again and again. The signature looked like mine. The date was stamped 3 days after my surgery. The notary's name rang a faint bell. Claire Sandoval. Then I remembered. She used to work part-time at the same company as Caleb. So now I had a forged signature, a possible complicit notary, and a brother pretending it was all a miscommunication. That's when I decided to show the papers to my aunt. Dad's sister. The only family member who hadn't picked sides yet. She came over that evening with lasagna and nervous energy, sat across from me while I laid everything out. When she saw the notarized statement, her face went white. "Oh no," she whispered. I asked what she meant. Apparently, the week I was in the hospital, Caleb told the entire extended family I was moving to Portland permanently. Said I'd let go of the land emotionally. That's how he got people on his side. He'd been building this lie in layers, softening everyone, controlling the story, erasing me one sentence at a time. And the worst part? He told Aunt Lydia, who lives next door to the property, that I gave him full blessing to renovate. She'd even let his construction crew park on her land to help with tent setup. I felt physically sick. He hadn't just stolen the land. He'd rewritten the entire narrative, turned me into the flake. The sickly sister who didn't care. That night, as I was taking my meds and trying not to spiral, I got a text from Caleb. "FYI, don't cause a scene this weekend. You're still invited, but this day isn't about you. Let's be adults." I stared at the screen, mouth open. Still invited? I hadn't even RSP'd, but then came the twist. The real twist. 2 hours later, I got a DM from someone I didn't know. Profile photo. A young woman in a white dress. "Hi, Zoe. I think we need to talk. I'm marrying your brother this weekend, and I just found something in his desk drawer with your name on it." I didn't sleep that night. Not really. After I got the DM from Caleb's fiancée, her name was Julia, my brain just wouldn't shut off. I kept staring at her message over and over. "I just found something in his desk drawer with your name on it." No explanation, no follow-up, just that. I replied instantly. "Can you tell me what it is?" Silence. For hours, my mind went wild with possibilities. The forged signature? More fake paperwork? Maybe an unsent letter from Dad? A confession? By sunrise, I was spiraling so hard I forgot to take my meds. My gut flared up again, sharp and angry, like my body was catching up to the emotional pain. Julia finally wrote back at 8:42 a.m. "It's a notarized quitclaim deed. You didn't sign it, but he had one that was signed. By someone else. Same name, different handwriting." I felt my entire body go cold. She sent a picture. And there it was. A document, supposedly from me, transferring all rights, interest, and claim to Caleb. Only the signature? It was spelled Zoee. I don't spell my name with a Y. Never have. The notary? Still Claire Sandoval. This wasn't just forgery anymore. This was impersonation. He found someone with a similar name to pose as me. The part that broke me? It worked, because no one ever double-checked. Because no one ever thought I'd fight back. Julia didn't know what to do. She said she'd only found it because Caleb left his office drawer open while rushing out for a tux fitting. I asked her if she knew what he'd done with the land. She paused for a long time, then said, "He told me his parents left it to him. I thought he just hadn't talked about it much because it was emotional." That's when it hit me. He didn't just lie to the county. He lied to her, to everyone. He crafted this whole fantasy. Caleb Mitchell, self-made man, inheritor of generational land, marrying into a well-off family with a vineyard in Oregon. And I was the loose end, the blemish, the sister with a chronic illness and no husband, the sister he needed to vanish. I told Julia everything, about the ICU, about the fake notarized statement, about the invite I never asked for. She didn't reply right away, but when she did, it was one line. "Come to the wedding." I stared at my phone for a full 5 minutes. Was this some kind of setup? A trap? Before I could ask, she followed up. "I think you should see it for yourself." The wedding was 2 days later. I didn't wear black. I didn't show up to cause a scene. I wore a navy dress Dad bought me for my 30th birthday. Quiet, clean lines, no makeup, just lip balm and shaking hands. The ceremony was on the south side of the property, our favorite childhood field. The one where we used to lay on our backs and name shapes in the clouds. Now it had white chairs, a floral arch, and a 6-piece string quartet. No one noticed me at first. I stood near the back, hidden, until the officiant asked, "Does anyone here object to the union of these two people?" And Julia turned to the crowd and said, "Actually, I do." The whole crowd gasped. She stepped forward holding a manila folder. In the spirit of full honesty, something this wedding has sorely lacked, I need everyone to know that this ceremony is taking place on stolen land. She told them everything, not just about me, about the forgery, the fake Zoe, the lies to her family. And then she did something I never expected. She turned to me and called me by name. "Zoe Mitchell, you deserved better. You still do." The crowd turned. Dozens of eyes on me. Caleb? He looked like someone had pulled the floor out from under him. He didn't speak. He didn't even move. He just stood there, in front of everyone who mattered to him, watching the mask crumble. I didn't stay. I couldn't. I left quietly, walked straight back to my car, locked the door, and finally cried. Not because I was vindicated, but because I'd never wanted it to come to this. He was my twin. He was supposed to be the person who stood by me when no one else did. And instead, he chose this. If you've ever been blindsided by someone you loved, someone who was supposed to protect you, just know. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You're not too sensitive. Some betrayals cut deeper because they come from people who knew where your soft spots were and aimed straight for them. And if you're still healing from something like that, I see you. You'd think that moment, the wedding imploding in real time, would have felt like a victory, like some final, satisfying climax in a courtroom drama. But it didn't. It felt like grief. Grief for the version of my brother I thought existed. Grief for the years I'd spent trying to believe he was still in there somewhere. The Caleb who used to tape candy bars to my locker on bad days, who held my hand at Dad's funeral. That Caleb was gone. And what was left? A man who had sold out his sister's legacy to buy his way into a family that didn't even want him after the truth came out. Because yes, Julia's parents, the vineyard people, pulled their investment offer by Monday morning. Turns out they don't like fraud tied to their name. Go figure. But this isn't a story about justice served by someone else. This is about me taking my damn power back. The day after the wedding fallout, I met with a pro bono attorney from the legal aid clinic Mr. Reiner had referred me to. Her name was Marla, mid-40s, no nonsense, and the kind of person who wrote notes in block letters and underlined every third word. She looked at the documents I had. The fake Zoe deed, the notarization from Claire Sandoval, and a timeline of my hospital stay. Then looked up at me and said, "This isn't just forgery. This could turn into criminal fraud if the DA picks it up." I blinked. "You mean like actual charges?" "Depends on how far he went. But yes, and regardless, we're getting your name back on that title." Marla sent a formal request to the county clerk's office to begin the reversal process, citing fraud and impersonation. Meanwhile, she contacted the notary board about Claire's involvement. And here's where things got interesting. Claire, it turns out, had already been under scrutiny for notarizing documents outside legal boundaries. Mine? It was the third complaint she'd been linked to in under a year. She flipped. Immediately. Within a week, we had a sworn statement from Claire confirming Caleb asked her to notarize a quitclaim deed without my presence, using an alternate Zoe for appearance. She even admitted to being paid in cash, off the books. That was the break we needed. We filed an official motion to rescind the fraudulent deed. Caleb tried to stall with a lawyer of his own, but the evidence was stacked like bricks against him. Emails, messages, the DM from Julia, the notarized confession. The moment the motion was approved, I stood on the courthouse steps with the finalized paperwork in my hand. And I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even smile. I just breathed, like I'd been holding it for 2 years and finally let it out. But I wasn't done. I filed a cease and desist against Caleb using the Mitchell family estate branding for any events, websites, or social campaigns tied to the land. He tried to rebrand it as a rustic rental venue to recoup his losses. Too late. Public records now reflected my name, not his. His deposit from the wedding tent company? Lost. The catering deal? Voided. Julia? Gone. The boat he'd just financed? Repossessed after his credit took a hit from legal fees. And maybe you're wondering, did I feel bad? Number because I didn't ruin his life. He did. I just stopped cleaning up after him. Then came the twist. 3 weeks after everything settled, I got a certified letter. From a law office I didn't recognize. Inside was a short note and a copy of a handwritten addendum to Dad's will. Not notarized, but dated 2 weeks before his surgery. It said, in shaky but unmistakable handwriting, "If anything happens, I want the land to go to Zoe. She's the one who stayed. She's the one who understands it. Caleb doesn't need it. Zoe does." My heart dropped. The letter had been in the safe deposit box all along, but Caleb must have found it first and never told me. He hadn't just stolen the land. He'd hidden Dad's final words, and that hurt more than anything. If you've ever had to reclaim something that was rightfully yours, not just stuff, but your voice, your space, your truth, I see you. And if you've ever been betrayed by someone who knew exactly how much it would hurt, please know. You didn't deserve it, but you do deserve to come back stronger. I don't remember driving home after I opened that letter. I just remember sitting in my driveway, clutching that wrinkled piece of paper with my dad's handwriting on it, and shaking like I was back in that ICU bed all over again. He'd chosen me. He said it plain and clear. Zoe's the one who stayed. All the sleepless nights, the unpaid medical bills, the cold winter months I spent taking care of him after Mom passed. It hadn't been invisible to him like I thought. He saw it. He saw me. And Caleb had taken that from me too. He didn't just want the land. He wanted the last word, but not anymore. A week later, I stood in front of the same county courthouse where my name had been erased months earlier. Only this time, I wasn't there as someone trying to reclaim what was stolen. I was there to testify. Claire Sandoval had been arrested for notary fraud in another case, and she'd agreed to cooperate in exchange for leniency. That meant testifying not just to what she did for Caleb, but how he coached her, in writing. He had sent her instructions via text. Just make sure the signature matches the ID. She spells it Zoe, but the fake one has a Y. If anyone asks, just say it was a typo. He thought no one would ever dig deep enough. He thought Zoe with a Y would be a cute little loophole he could walk away from, but this time he didn't walk away. The judge ruled in my favor. The deed was fully restored to my name, and the notary's confession nullified all documents Caleb had submitted. But it didn't stop there. The DA pursued Caleb for felony fraud, citing identity falsification and financial gain through misrepresentation. He didn't go to prison. First-time offender, no priors. But he did get probation, hefty fines, and mandatory community service. More than that, though, he lost what he really cared about: reputation. His fancy job in Seattle? Gone. Julia's family blacklisted him. The wedding fallout had already gone semi-viral in our hometown Facebook group. You know the type. Someone anonymously posted the moment Julia shut the ceremony down, and the internet did the rest. By the time it all blew over, he'd become that guy. The one who forged his sister's name and got dumped at the altar for it. The one who stole land and still ended up with nothing. As for me, I kept the land. Not because I needed it, or because I wanted to wave it in anyone's face, but because it was mine. It always had been. I converted part of the old barn into a small art studio. Started hosting community painting nights once a month. It's quiet, simple, honest. Sometimes I walk out to the back fence, to the field where the wedding was supposed to happen. The grass is tall again. No more chairs, no arch. Just me, the wind, and the dirt my dad once stood on with tired hands and calloused palms. It's peaceful now. And it's mine. Not because I fought harder, but because I finally stopped letting people rewrite my story. Some people don't steal from you because they need what you have. They do it because they can't stand the fact that you didn't need them. And sometimes the only way to win is to walk away carrying your name, not theirs. The biggest lesson I learned? Blood doesn't make someone family. Loyalty does. And when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. If you've ever had something taken from you, your voice, your worth, your place, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. And if this one meant something to you, maybe hit subscribe so we can keep telling these stories together. No filters, no edits, just the truth. The way it actually happened.